So, good morning. We're the Call Guys. I'm David.
I'm George.
And we are here with our guest, Andrea Grinstead. She is with the Irmo Police Department, and we're going to talk things law enforcement about Irmo this morning, aren't we?
I don't know how much longer I'm going to be in the police department, but for now, yes, gainfully employed.
Gainfully employed for now. We probably won't ask too many revealing questions, right?
Yeah.
So.
I said before this, if I give you a thumbs up, that means I think your idea is crap. I'm nodding my head with a thumbs up.
Our good friend Ruby this morning. So, good morning, Ruby.
Good morning.
How does that work? Does that look good to you? Yeah? We should have just kept going. Because I mean, you at least do the social media for this police department, right?
I do.
You are the face
Yes.
behind the Facebook.
Yes, I am the, I like to refer to it as if the chief and the major or Milli Vanilli, I'm the actual person singing. I'm the voice.
Yeah, well, you and I are old enough to get that, right?
Yes.
No, I was just fake laughing.
You know, it's kind of like the Ashley Simpson thing, but not really. Still?
You gotta come up with a country
So
music
old.
reference.
I'm a child, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Alan Jackson, I could like.
Okay.
So-
Alan Jackson's like before, listen, this one. Bless
Well-
it, Jesus bless it.
Yeah, so anyway, tell us a little bit about yourself, Andrea, who you are, why you're in the Irmo community, what you do.
Well, my name's Andrea Grinstead, and I am employed by the Irmo Police Department. Currently.
We won't tell Chief Bobby Dale when we see him at
Yeah.
breakfast the other
None of the,
morning.
there's some things that are gonna be cut. You can't show them to him. Currently, I am over the Special Operations Division, which is just a fancy term for the lieutenant over the Community Services Division, which is our code enforcement, and the Criminal Investigations Division.
Awesome. So you have a wide-ranging responsibility, right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. So how long have you been doing it? Why did you get into law enforcement?
I've been with Irmo since September of 2001. I joined as an explorer, and yeah, right.
Wow.
Were you even born?
Nope.
You could have just lied to me. See, he doesn't have to be here, does he?
See, if you had joined the following year, still wouldn't have been born.
When were you born?
2004.
Alright. That reminds me to buy Metamucil on the way home. So I joined as an explorer, and I really wasn't kind of sure what I wanted to do
Yeah.
in high school, because I think at one point, the era that we grew up in, everybody wanted to be a marine biologist at some point. I don't know if it was like the Lisa Frank Trapper Keepers or the Free Willy movie, Google that. But then I saw like all the science that was involved, I'm like, that's not gonna be a good situation for me. And so I got a job at the BP in Gaston, shout out to y'all people in Gaston. And the Lexington County Sheriff's Department would come in, and I just hear these guys and women telling their stories. I'm like, well, this seems like a great job.
Yeah.
And then I looked it up, and it was like one math to get a criminal justice degree, and I was like, yeah, done, sign me up. So, and then
Is that enough to like just to calculate the difference between what you were actually driving and what you should have been driving to do the ticket?
Yeah, or it's just
okay.
like, I could do that with my fingers if it's not, I'm just not good.
It's not about 10 digits.
Yeah. So, but, and also, my granddad, was a police officer. He, walked the beat downtown Columbia here. He worked for the Sheriff's Department in Lexington, and he was also the chief of police for a, short time in Swansea. And then my uncle is a police officer in Florida, so it was just kind of like, all right, like I'll do this kind of cool thing.
So there's some family background in law enforcement, that type of thing.
Yeah, my
That's
grandma was not happy at all.
Yeah, well, as funny as we get, we have a lot of respect for people in the law enforcement
Well, thank
industry. We very much do, because you guys go out and do a lot of hard things that, anybody else would just kind of walk away from. So, all jokes aside, we appreciate what you do.
Well,
I'm
thank
glad
you.
you're doing it. I'm glad you've been doing it as
Yeah.
long as you have.
Yeah.
That's a long time, yeah.
Well, and then the Explorer thing is just, we still have the Explorer program.
That's great.
I'm
I'm a big Boy Scout. I
Okay.
was an Eagle Scout.
Yeah, so, and we are licensed under the Boy Scouts.
And these days, girls can be scouts.
Yes, I mean, I was a Boy Scout.
Awesome.
So I did that until I turned 21, and then I did like the reserve thing in Swansea
Yeah.
for a little bit, which was kind of cool because, you know, it was my granddad was the chief of police here, and then now his granddaughter is like the first female officer sworn in at that agency. And then Irmo hired me officially in 2006.
Okay. Very
So
good.
getting from 2006 to now, Irmo Police keeps getting more and more involved with their community.
Yes.
What do y'all do to stand out a little bit as compared to other agencies?
Well, we do host the, we're gonna do the big national night out, like I was telling you guys about, Tuesday, August 2nd, 5:30 to 8:30 at the community park. And basically, you know, most of the interactions that we have, it's not like when somebody's having a great day, they're like, you know what, I'm having a great day today, I'm gonna call the police and tell them, I'm gonna invite them over, we're gonna have lemonade, it's gonna be great. No, like typically, we are dealing with people at their worst moments ever. And so it's not like you know, have a chance to engage a lot outside of like, you know, you don't wanna be like, well, you know, I really hate this happened. It's just, so we host this huge party and we invite the town, it's free, and we just have a good time. I think there's like a rib eating contest between the fire department and the police department, but like the fire
Who
department,
usually wins?
I think we've won.
Okay.
So, and then I'm trying to get the fire department, or the chief to go for a tortilla slap challenge between us and the fire
Tortillas.
department.
What is a tortilla slap challenge?
Bro, do you not
You've
TikTok?
never seen it? You've never seen it?
Oh,
Do you
not.
TikTok,
Yeah, I've
right?
seen it,
Okay,
yeah.
alright, so,
You could just use your hand to show up.
yeah, I still have my PTI saved, I can use that. Is basically, you put, like, you fill your mouth with water, and
Okay.
then you have a tortilla in your hand, and you play paper, rock, scissors with somebody, and whoever loses, the other person slaps them in the face with the tortilla, and you gotta try not to spit your water out laughing. It sounds stupid, and I get it, but it is the funniest thing I've ever seen. And besides, like, there's probably some firemen or maybe even some people in Irmo that would love to take a shot at my face with a tortilla.
Felons,
Hmm?
former felons.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, well, you mentioned one person beforehand that might, but we're
Yeah.
not gonna go there.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah.
So, talk a little bit about what is the difference between a police department and the sheriff's department?
Well, one of the main differences is they handle a lot of civil stuff. So we don't do anything with evictions or anything like that. And they're usually a lot bigger and have a lot more resources than we do.
Yeah.
So we end up relying a lot on the sheriff's departments around us, Richland, Lexington, CPD's not a sheriff's department, but because we're such a small agency in the middle of all these other agencies, we really have to come together, work, collaborate, get along with, share intel with other agencies in the area.
Yeah, because y'all straddle 2 counties, right?
Yes.
And some city lines.
Yes. Like if you weren't aware, the Harbison area is the Bermuda Triangle of jurisdictions.
Yeah.
It's like a crime will happen and like we'll all show up, we'll convene. It'll be Lexington County, Richland County, City of Columbia, Irmo. We're like, where'd this happen?
Yes.
But really it's just like paper rocks. All right, sheriff, we're gone.
Experienced that about 2 months ago.
It's,
Was on the way to go shopping near there
Mhm.
and was like 5 minutes after, I think everybody was like descending on Richland on the mall there.
oh, that day.
Yeah, that day.
Yeah. Oh, that day.
But that was a good day. I mean, you know, I think in a lot of ways, people got to see that, you know, every law enforcement in this agency, you know, is working together like to address something that was a really bad situation.
Yeah.
Good save.
Right. Yeah,
Good save.
I mean, not in a good day in terms of people got
I know, I was about to say like the
But-
FBI's like.
Yeah, but I mean, you felt really safe because everywhere you know,
I
you
did.
couldn't drive
I-
3 feet without there was a cop.
Yeah, let me tell you how I didn't feel safe. Because I was in the middle of Lake Murray Boulevard
Oh.
and Columbiana Drive directing traffic, and I did not feel safe.
Yeah, well,
No.
He wasn't on the road, right?
No,
I was like, I'm pretty sure, I was like, I'm gonna need.
We won't talk about what I did yesterday.
Well, I'm just like, I told the chief, I'm like,
like,
I'm gonna need some diplomatic immunity because, I mean, it's, and like you said, it was controlled chaos.
Yep.
I remember I was on watch command that day, which is one of my duties. Is basically we divide it between 4 of us: myself, the patrol lieutenant, the community services sergeant, and the assistant chief. So basically, you're like, for lack of a better term, the night chief or the week. Like you're the one they're calling, and you decide if it needs to go up the chain or we need to wake people up. And
how
so
often do you do that?
once every month.
Okay. No, I mean like wake the next person up.
Well, I have the worst luck, so a lot.
A lot. Okay.
And to give some context, we're talking about the mall shooting, because we didn't even.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, like we
I
all.
wasn't gonna say that. I didn't want to like put some bad vibes about Columbia and Irmo out there, but.
Well, it
yeah.
was nationwide news.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I saw the page come across as an active shooter and at the mall, and I'm like, so that's when you're just like, all right, let's, you know, throw on some tack pants, grab my gun, and let's go. And
Yeah.
so like you don't even ask, you just go.
So how do you mentally, I mean, you see something like that come across your screen, right? What do you tell yourself inside your head about what I'm about to run into?
I mean, you just,
Or you just a reaction, and
It's
you
just-
grab your stuff and go?
yeah, it's a reaction.
Yeah.
You're listening to the radio, and I mean, a lot of times you're just like, you know, I mean, you're hoping that this isn't the day that your number's called, but unfortunately, you know, for a lot of cops, these situations don't end the way we would like them to, but
Sure.
you just kind of focus on the task at hand, and you're trying to, there's so much chaos. Like, when you have to run code through the mall parking lot to get to the food court, and then it's like, you know.
We need to talk to the traffic engineer around that mall.
No, listen, people, we need to talk to you. If you see cops with big guns running in one direction, I'm gonna need you to go the other way, okay? Like, if there's a zombie apocalypse, a lot of you are dying in the first place. You know, I mean, like, cops, guns, vests, helmets, you know, like, it's tacked out, man, like, it is going down. And everybody just standing around with a cell phone camera, and I'm like, okay, you know, and I know that's the way society is today, but like, personally, if it was me, I'm gonna be going the opposite direction.
Yeah.
You know, and so, cause there were a lot of cops that showed up. I remember, I found my boss at the food court, Chief Dale was there, and then he showed up, which, side note, I took a very interesting picture of him. I'll show it to you. I like to call it his Class D uniform for his Class Dad uniform. He was just like, I gotta go. And so he was in the middle of grilling and threw on his vest, grabbed his gun over his like hey dudes and like dad shorts. And so I look around and I see all these officers tacked out, and then there's my boss just, you know, looking like a regular old dad. And I had to laugh. Like, I took a picture of it, and but it also kind of showed me that, you know, some department heads showed up ready to go to the command post and do what they needed to do. And that's okay, because for a big agency like City of Columbia, yeah, Chief Holbrook, this is what he does. He
Yeah.
talks to the news for a living. But it said a lot to me that my boss showed up where we all showed up at, which was, you know, he was at the food court,
Yeah.
he was going in that mall, and, you know, we were gonna go to work if we
Yeah.
needed to. And so that's one, like, I mean, he's just such a cop's cop, but it just struck me as I'm like, all right, we're doing this.
Yeah.
But then I ended up being put at Lake Murray in Columbia because we were trying to evacuate the mall,
Yeah.
because I was like getting, like, not yelled at, but I was getting yelled at, whoever you were on the radio, you remember. And they were like, we gotta open it up, because ambulances could not get through.
Yeah.
And it was just gridlock. And so I'm at Lake Murray and St. Andrews, I'm directing traffic, and the amount of people that thought that it would be appropriate to stop and have a conversation with me, like I'm not busy, and it's just like, we need to know, and I'm like, go, 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 and it was just like, don't have a conversation we're basically the traffic light, we can't talk.
Yeah.
So, and then they were getting mad at me, and I'm like, you don't understand, like, well, this is the only way I know to go home. Well, I don't know what to tell you, because I'm trying to get thousands upon thousands of people out of the mall. Yeah, so we can get, I mean, and then you have cops coming from Newberry. It was insane. It was a long day.
Well, thank y'all for what y'all did.
Yes.
I mean, that was a pretty impressive response, you know, to a situation that could have been way worse
Yes.
than what it ever was. And so, you know, I think the Columbia community, while, you know, kind of unnerved about the fact that it actually happened here, should be proud of the reaction they got from local law enforcement.
Yes.
So,
It was definitely controlled chaos. Is the best term to refer to it as.
sure.
Well, mass shootings aren't the like main crime in Irmo, but
Mhm.
what like sounded weird. But what was
That was a terrible transition. Where do you go to podcast?
that was rough. All right, what would you say the main? that was different. All right, what
You're
would you say the main areas of crime are?
So I would think, so what we normally have, most of what we deal with is property crimes, and every agency deals with them. Vehicle break-ins, or financial crimes, which is your credit card being used, or when they break into your car and take your credit card. So property crimes, financial crimes, scams, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. I have yet to meet a real Nigerian prince that wants to give me money. So, but listen, if you guys ever feel like you want to send somebody money, we can put my address on the bottom here, and you can just send it to me. You can support me, it'll be fine.
Your Venmo.
Yeah, we'll Venmo it, yeah, it's fine. It's like if you want to play the lottery, just send me $50, I'll send you back $5. We'll call it even. So with that, and you know, we're very fortunate, like we were talking about before, where we're situated and what is around us. The violent crime in Irmo is, compared to what's around us, very low. And I can say, and I was having this conversation with my Sergeant of Investigations last night, was that anytime we typically have some type of, it's never stranger on stranger crime, you know? So it's not like, you know, you're just walking down Friars Gate Boulevard and somebody punches you in the head and takes your wallet. If they do, it's probably somebody that you know. It's usually stuff that's like, it's gonna be domestic related, it's gonna be family issues, it's gonna be things that no matter what you do as the police, you're not gonna be able to prevent.
And so what are y'all's tactics in preventing those main areas of crime? What do y'all do?
Well, we have, I don't know if you guys have seen the traffic trailer that's up. We have a little speed trailer, and that kind of helps us identify areas where we need to look into like speeding. So we can analyze the data from that, because like I swear some of these people use that as like a challenge. I've pulled the data from you
See
people,
how fast
okay?
how high they can get the number
Yeah,
as they go by it?
It's not a competition. So that, or, you know, we'll sit down with other agencies and have intel meetings, and we'll all come together, because usually, we're dealing with the same people that Richland's dealing with, or Lexington, or City of Columbia, or Chapin. And so we collaborate with them and look at, you know, hey, what's going on? Where is our crime? You know, so let's just say we had a bunch of car break-ins or let-ins, lock your doors, we call them vehicle let-ins if they're unlocked. Maybe at, I don't know, in Friars Gate. Not always, don't at me, because it happens everywhere, but, so we'll say, okay, well, this is where we need to concentrate, so we'll do saturations, directed patrols, and try to get as many officers in the area as we can.
All right, so we've been talking about, you know, things that, you know, the more negative things that go on in the Irmo area, right? What are some of the positive things? Like, you know, what are you guys doing, you know, out in the community to get to know folks? I know you mentioned National Night Out, but I mean, you're involved in the community. We see you at the Irmo Chamber events. We see Chief Bobby Dale, you know, every Friday morning at the St. Andrews Irmo Optimist Club. You know, what else is the Irmo Police Department doing to kind of, you know, bridge that gap that sometimes exists between what people think actually police are and do versus who they really are?
You know, we have a lot of programs, like I mentioned before, the Explore program,
Yeah.
and that's, you know, for kids 14 to 20. to kind of come do ride-alongs. They learn, because like I said, that's where.
Y'all do ride-alongs?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I need to come. Long time ago, I used to have a buddy that I grew up in Asheville, North Carolina, and he was with Asheville Police Department. I went to ride along with him. Most fun night I had.
It's definitely a front row seat to the craziest show on earth.
Yeah.
But you know I'll be running your background check and running your DL stuff, so.
That's fine.
All right. That's
fine.
what you want to do, sir.
We can come do it because we had, ended up like on a foot chase with a guy that was trying to break into an apartment building over like 3 or 4 blocks with
Yeah.
like 10 cops and everything.
That's like a typical Tuesday night.
Drunk driver and all kinds of fun stuff, so
Yep.
yeah.
We also have the Irmo Police Department Community Foundation, and they're a big part in helping us with doing Shop with a Cop. We do that around Christmas time, and just, you know, schools will tell us in the community what families that they think that we need to focus on, and we will take them out and take them shopping. And actually, you know, there were a lot of us that, because you get and it's just so sad because you only get a set number of things, and so when you see kids that are they want to shop for themselves, but they want to get their mom something, and they want to get their, and you're like, oh, somebody is cutting onions in Walmart, because like surely I'm not crying like a little girl. That's not me. So there were a lot of us that would just, and I saw officers just pull their own credit card, because like you're not gonna tell a kid like, no, you can't get that, like, and then it's just so heartbreaking because they're shopping for their family, and you're like, no, this is for you.
Yeah.
And so we do that. Our community services division participates in child safety seat checks. We do numerous community events. This is why I write things down, because I knew like when you were going to ask me, I would forget them, and that's why. We also just started. We took over the SRO program in Irmo Elementary School. So we took that from Lexington County Sheriff's Department, and so we're going to have Officer Larrabee, or Corporal Larrabee, will be in Irmo Elementary starting this year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't get beat up and his lunch money taken. We'll see. These kids are built different these days.
We'll shake down before school of the SROs.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, God.
What can the public do to make y'all's jobs easier? Besides not committing crime?
Yeah, other than
And run away from crime.
not commit crime. The number one thing would be lock your cars. Lock your cars. Lock your cars. Don't leave your guns in your cars. As my buddy Deputy Kazupi at Richland County says, your vehicle is not your holster. You would not believe the amount of guns that we have that are taken from motor vehicles. Yeah, and it's just, and the thing is you have like, there's no other way to say it, but like roving bands of like, and the majority of them are juveniles, and they're going into cars and they're taking these guns, because most people that commit crimes with firearms can't go out and buy them, and so they're just they're gonna get them wherever they can. So please lock your cars, don't put your guns in them, and the number one thing talking about the juveniles would be pay attention to what your kids are doing. I don't want to make light of it, but every time I see those posts on Facebook where, like, and we all know the groups, where, like, the neighborhood groups, where if you do a U-turn in that neighborhood, all of a sudden you're, like, on some terrorist watch list from, like, the PTA. But you'll see I was in Walmart, and there was a man sitting in a white van and just human trafficking, and I'm like, okay, so does that happen? Yes, I'm not going to say that doesn't happen. But the tool most often used to recruit your children into trafficking or running away is that really nice little iPhone that you put in their hands for Christmas. Yeah. Apps like TikTok, and I know we all love it, Snapchat, Meet Me, Kick, so many, Insta, all the old people like us are on Facebook, so maybe not so much there. But the attorney...
That's history, right?
Do what?
It's a history app?
Maybe. Oh.
It's okay.
Thank God you're pretty.
I'm keeping that in.
Yeah. So, but if like you can go to the Attorney General, South Carolina Attorney General's website, and they'll kind of, there's links there to show you, but like a lot of these kids are befriended on Facebook, and then they're enticed into, you know, running away, and then they just get caught up in this stuff. So that would be, like I said, I mean, still watch your surroundings, but be more concerned, like I said, with what your kids have in their hands, that it just opens up a whole world of predators. One of my investigators is on the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, and they just did an operation not too long ago where, you know, they just put, like, they go on these media platforms as kids, 13-year-old kids, and the amount of adults that were in their inbox within a second of their profile going live. So you really, really, really just need to be aware of what your kids are doing. So I just feel like, you know, if people track their kids the way they do the cops in the neighborhood, we might have less crime.
Nice. Not nice, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite part of what you do?
When I go home.
When you go
No, I'm just kidding. You know, I love the people that I work with. Like, I love the fact that, you know, I can go to work and we're like a family that fights a lot. You know, just like typical, like I'm sure you guys probably have disagreements maybe, or no.
I don't know. As long as we
I'll
work
tell you
together,
what, I mean, I usually stop at the red light.
Oh. Okay, well, we'll talk about that later.
That later.
No, but I mean, what I'm saying is like, you know, it's, you know, we may disagree or we may kind of like bicker back and forth because we spend a lot of time with each other.
Yeah.
Like in the, especially in the investigations division, some days I'm like, we know way too much about each other, like we are very well acquainted because we spend so much time together. So it's, you know, we're just like a big family, and I love being able to come to work and laugh and joke, because there's so many times where we have to be serious, and it's just, you'll hear if anybody, like maybe nurses, doctors, EMS workers, but it's like public safety humor. I mean, like there's some things that, like I was telling you before you turn the camera on, some things that it's like you have to laugh or else
You're gonna like
it's not gonna be a good situation. So yeah. And then I think what else?
And I'll stop you and say, you know, because of all the communities I've lived in over the years and the law enforcement people that I've been involved in, because I was in education for a long while and taught 5th grade, so I had the DARE officer in my room, you know, for part of the year. And, you know, you guys, the law enforcement people that we see at like Coffee Talk every Tuesday morning, y'all are so approachable and so human, and that I think is one of the biggest differences that I notice between law enforcement folks that I've known before and the law enforcement community that's here. Because I've called Captain Tapper a couple of times about some things, and he's just, you know, he's always
Stapler.
like, he's just like, you know, how can I help?
Yeah, we actually went to the academy together.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and I will tell you, like, even being an officer, I can get that, because there have been times where I'm like, I'll see, you know, is an officer, and I'm like, you know, I mean, so I can get the feeling of unapproachability.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, I think what surprises people, and what kind of, I think surprised a lot of people at Coffee Talk, was just that, like, we're just people. We're just people that, you know, like, we have a job to do. It's like I would tell people when I was on the road. Some people deliver pizza for a living. Some people install cable for a living. Like, I take people to jail for a living. Like, nothing personal. It's just, you know, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
In Irmo, what should somebody, when they call 911, expect their response time to be?
Well, so, because like you said earlier, we're divided into 2 counties.
Yeah.
So this is where it gets fun. If you are in Richland County and you dial 911, you're going to go to Richland County Communications. And so you'll just tell them, you need to be like, hey, I'm in the town of Irmo. They're gonna send you to Lexington County Communications, who will then dispatch us. Now, depending how well those 2 talk to each other, you know, typically we don't have the high response times Sometimes, you know, like if there's a shoplifting at Walmart at 5 p.m., hello, Broad River Road, like it, we'll be there when we get there. So just tell them to put the catalytic converter down, we'll be there. So, you know, and really it depends on what type of call. We try to get to every call as quickly as possible, and we try to have that, you know, short response time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just not possible. But, you know, for your more serious calls, then we'll designate like a code 2 response, which is just lights, or code 3, which is full-blown lights, sirens, in order
So
to
really,
get there.
if we see an Irmo Police Department car coming down the road, lights and sirens, it's like, get out of their way.
Yeah, you should definitely not stop in the middle of the road. You know who you are. So, yes, move over.
So, what?
We could just go hop into the fun stuff.
Do you want me to read your questions? What you got there? What is the craziest call I've been a part of? Well, funny, you should ask that. Like I said, when I got that question, I had to call around. I'm like, I've done so many things.
Yeah.
You know, 10 years on the road. Like, what can I talk about without getting fired? And also, did Internal Affairs send them this? Is this a test? Is this a trap? Is this a setup? Not today, IA. So I think one of the ones that kind of sticks in my mind is, I like to refer to it as the traffic stop that never ended. And like one of my guys stopped somebody one night. It was like on Lake Murray here at the pit stop, and that person was like suspended and wanted or something like that. So they're gonna take them to jail. Well, they're trying not to be too much of a jerk, and they're like, listen, you know, I don't have the money for a tow, blah blah. Okay, well, you know, if you can get somebody here in the next, you know, 10 minutes, try to help you out. We'll let them take your car. So they call somebody. That person shows up. Well, of course, we have to run their license to make sure that we're letting a licensed driver drive off in the car. First person, wanted. Like, okay, so sorry, you gotta go to jail. Alright, like, and they're still begging us, please don't tow my car. Alright, if you can get somebody else here. And so like, the next person they called, they drive up with somebody, and they get out of the driver's seat and they're like, hey, I'm here, I'm gonna drive my car, you need to run your license. Run them, they're like suspended for so many unpaid traffic tickets. We're like, all right, you gotta go to jail too. So, and then they're just like, I think they ended up calling like 3 people. Every person that showed up was wanted or suspended. And finally I'm like, stop, we don't have any more space. Like, we're trying to help you out. You're not gonna have any friends after this is over. We should have just towed the car to begin with. I'm like, now all your family hates you. You're not on the Christmas list. Like, it would not end. I'm like, we can't. Please don't call anybody else that you know. We don't have the vehicle space. So, and then another one was I got called to a civil, and this is just a crazy thing that the things that we see people do to each other on a daily basis and what grown adults will do. But I mean, you guys watch TikTok, you know. I got sent to these 2 neighbors. They just hated each other, and they were spraying each other with water hoses in the middle of summer. Grown women, and I'm like, if I would know already this, I showed up. It's hot. Like, I'm burning up in this vest. So I'm like, just the things that grown people will do. You're just
So
like,
they were just standing out in the middle of the yard spraying and yelling at each other.
yes,
Spraying hoses and yelling at each other.
spraying, yes.
And nobody would back off.
No.
You know what we called that in college?
What?
Spring break.
I'm like, if you guys are gonna be spraying people with water, you should have called me. It's hot in this vest. So, do you want this next one? Can you have that?
We can keep going down the list if you got it.
Okay. Do you want me to like?
What is the funniest call you have been a part of?
Ooh, the funniest one that I can talk about?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not funny for me, but it was funny for everybody else. So, obviously, one of the things that is kind of like sticks out about me is this thing that's on my head, like my hair. It has its own personality. Like, my nickname is the hair. They're like the girl with the hair at Irmo, and they instantly know. Like, oh, big blonde hair, yeah. So like this thing has a mind of its own. You know what I mean? Like I have my own hole in the ozone layer above my house from all the hairspray I use. So like some days I'm like, just please don't embarrass me. So we had just worked a armed robbery,
Yeah.
and we were doing a search warrant at a house in this neighborhood, and this house had a history of thousands of guests.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking Joe's Apartment, MTV. You can Google that. They made movies one time. So anyway, Joe's Apartment's about a dude that had a bunch of roaches living in his house. So, and it was just like, so we, and I go in there fully prepared for this, and I'm like, okay, but there's things that we have to go places that we don't want to go.
Yeah.
So I'm going in mentally prepared, and we get in, and I'm like, oh, thank God they called an exterminator, because it's perfect. I'm like, thank God, finally. So we're clearing the house, looking for armed robbery suspects, and I let my guard down. And Sergeant Pittman is I don't think we were sergeants then, but he was in the kitchen. He's going through cabinets, and I'm like, all right, I only have this closet door in the pantry left to clear. So I snatched the closet door open because I got my gun out, and like I look up, and roaches are flying at my face, like they are in my hair, and I am like screaming. Well, I have to put my gun up first, but like I'm screaming bloody murder, and I'm like beating my hair, and so the guys outside thought that I was getting murdered. Like they're like, oh my God, she found him, she's fighting him, and they come in, and I'm just like beating my head. I'm trying, like, you see this mess, like if it was not, I'm out in the yard. And my own captain at the time said, like, the worst thing you can say to a woman in a time like this. He was like, Andrea, calm down. That made it so much better. I calmed down instantly. So I was like, that's it. I'm done. Never coming back to this house. I'm getting a new job. So, like, everybody thinks that was funny. It was very traumatic for me. And then there's the video on Facebook that we talked about the squirrel burglar.
Yeah, the squirrel burglar.
Yeah, where the squirrel broke into the house and set the alarm off.
Yeah. Kind of like Chevy Chase in Christmas Vacation, right?
Yeah, like where the cops go in fully thinking they're about to like fight some bad guy, and there's this burglar because the blinds are moving. Nope, it was a flying rat. Yeah, luckily that squirrel did not wake up and choose violence, but he did chase one of our biggest and baddest officers out of the house. It's up on our Facebook, you can see it.
Awesome. Well, I think we're going to kind of wrap this up here and just say it has been a pleasure having you join us this morning to record this podcast to talk about Irmo PD and our community a little bit. We'll definitely have to have you back on with us.
Sure. I'm going to need you to be better prepared.
And bring his pink shirt.
Yes. I wore my pink earrings. I thought you were going to wear your pink shirt, so I'm sad about that.
But thank you, Andrew, from the bottom of our heart, you and the Irmo Police Department, and all y'all do for the community. Thank you very much. Awesome.